I greet you in the love and light of the one infinite Creator. Today we go back to the very beginning. Not the beginning of Earth, not the beginning of this universe, the beginning of everything. The moment before there was a moment. The silence before silence even had a name. Session 13 in The Law of One by Ra is where Ra takes Don and in turn takes us into the deepest cosmological teaching, I believe, in the entire Law of One material. And I want to sit inside it with you today rather than just map it out, because this is important to all of us. This isn't abstract philosophy. This is the story of us, of why we exist, of what made us, and why we are made, and why any of it at all, is happening. So I called the first bit Infinity and the First Stir. And this is where Ra begins. There is infinite being. Not infinite things, not infinite space. Infinite being. Pure, undifferentiated existence. With no edges, no center, no time, no self-awareness. Just, for want of a better word, isness. Ra calls this the infinite creator. But in fairness, at this stage, there is no creator and nothing created. There is only the fact of existence itself. And then something extraordinary happens. Okay? Infinity becomes aware of itself. Now, Ra doesn't explain how, and in fairness, Don does not ask, which really does annoy me about these things. Don, I feel, just doesn't care about some of these small details like we would. Also, it could be that question may be unanswerable from within what we understand as time. But the teaching is clear. Awareness arose. Infinity looked inward. And in that single movement, everything that would ever exist became possible. Now just think about what that means for a moment. Before this, there was no free will, no love, no light, no thought. There was only undivided being. And then a stirring occurred. Reminds me of Imbolc, that first stirring, okay, after the quietness, a kind of cosmic waking. The universe didn't begin with a bang. It began with a noticing. Now the next part I've called the three primal distortions. This is where Ra introduces one of the most important concepts in all of the Law of One, distortion. Now this word is crucial, and I admit I was confused at first, and it confuses a lot of people at first, because in our language that we use today, a distortion means or can mean something damaged, corrupted, not good, something that's gone wrong. Ra uses it so differently. A distortion here simply means any movement away from the undifferentiated infinite, any distinction, any characteristic, anything that has a nature, okay? So when Ra says the first distortion is free will, this isn't a flaw. It's actually the first gift, the first arising, the decision, if we can even call it that, of the infinite to become something other than pure sameness. Free will is the seed of all creation. The second distortion is love, what Ra calls the Logos. And this is extraordinary, okay? Love here isn't sentiment or emotion. Love is the creative principle, the intelligent force that takes the possibility opened by free will and begins to shape. Love is an architect. Love, the word that speaks worlds into being. The third distortion is light. And from light, from this primordial photon that Ra describes, all physical manifestation cascades outward. Energy, matter, the very building blocks of every universe. You could say free will opens the door, love walks through the door, and light becomes the house. The Logos, love as the universe builder. This is my next heading. Ra speaks about the Logos with a depth that rewards slow reading, and I suggest you go back over this a few times. The Logos, the creative principle of love. Now, this doesn't build one universe and just stop. It creates what I want to call sub-logi, nested, created, and creative intelligences, galaxies, each with their own logos, stars, each with a sub-logos, and eventually us. Each of us is a spark of that same creative fire, a logos at our own scale, creating through our consciousness moment by moment. This is why Ra will later say that the purpose of the universe is for the creator to know itself, not in some abstract theological sense, but literally, through an experiment, through every being that has ever lived, every moment of joy, and, yes, grief, confusion, love, loss. Every one of those is the infinite, looking at itself through a different set of eyes, through the eyes of my dearly departed son Callum, through your eyes, through my eyes, through the eyes of our animals. The universe didn't create consciousness as an afterthought. Consciousness is the point. The Logos structured all of physical reality as a vehicle for self-awareness to deepen, to grow, to return to itself, transformed. And the next part I've called energy fields and the architecture of dimensions. So Ra also speaks in session 13 about the way the Logos organizes reality into what we experience as dimensions or densities, what Ra actually calls the octave system. 7 densities of being through which consciousness evolves, and then a return to the infinite, where a new octave begins. We are currently in the 3rd density. This is the density of choice. The density where free will is, in all honesty, tested most directly. We know the veil between us and our true nature is thickest. It's why we say that veil is hard to pierce. This is why we use spells or incense or deities to help us see through the veil if we need help. And it's precisely that thick, so that the choice we make here is genuinely free. This isn't a punishment. It's a design. Forgetting is part of the plan. And session 13 begins to lay the foundation for understanding why a being of pure love would create a reality in which forgetting, suffering, and the appearance of separation are possible. The answer ultimately is love itself, as hard as that is to believe. A love so vast it would give its creations the freedom to deny it, in order for the reunion, when it comes, to be entirely real. A moment of personal reflection I find myself sitting with something particular when I read this session now, and that is the idea that awareness arose out of pure infinity, okay? That the first act of the universe was a kind of waking up. Feels less like cosmology to me these days, and more like grief after what we've gone through as a family, or sometimes more like what comes after grief. There was a time when my world was whole and unexamined, trivial, and then the thing that could not happen happened. Our son died. And in that shattering, something that had always been there, something infinite and steady beneath all of it, became suddenly terribly visible. I think that might be what session 13 is describing, in all honesty. Not just the birth of the universe, but the birth of awareness itself, which always carries with it the ache of the separation. It, even as it is, always still whole. We are whole. Callum is still around. It's just not here physically. Now, take what resonates with you. And that is what Ra always suggests. Take what resonates. Leave what doesn't. There's no dogma here. Come back to this one really slowly. Listen to it again. And I leave you in the love and light of the one infinite creator, Adonai.